Building a new house, it can be so exciting, but yet so stressful. From the planning stages, do I do a two-story, do I do a ranch, to the construction, to the landscaping, inside, outside, all the things you have to consider. Well, here on the channel, we talk tech and we talk security, and that's what we're worried about when building a house. I want to give a shout out to Elizabeth Young, viewer on the channel that gave us a suggestion on this video. So if you've got a suggestion, please, we welcome them. Put it in the comments. Maybe we'll do a video based on your suggestion. But anyway, we're talking security, we're talking tech when building a house, we're talking internet. All the different things that you want to consider on the tech side of things. And here we are in the framing stages. That's a very important part that we're going to talk about in a second. You know, at what point do you consider all these things? So that's some of the things we're going to cover. It's a little cold here in Nebraska, so we're going to go inside and talk about the rest. Let's get started. What up, everybody? It's George Langenbeer with SilverHammer Surveillance. Here we are back in the SilverHammer Smart Apartment. I know it's not a smart home, and I know we're not building it, but it was a little cold out there. And we're still going to be able to talk about a lot of these things that are in here because it's applicable. We're just going to kind of talk about how we're going to gear that towards a new home build and all the different things that you should consider. Again, we're talking about internet, we're talking about home security, and we're talking about smart home tech. All the things to think about when you're building a home. Do you do it when you're in the construction phases? Do you wait till after? What should you consider? And that's what we're covering today. So we're going to start with what's nearest and dearest to my heart. Because I'm a crook catcher. I'm catching crooks for 25 years. Love to catch the bad guys, the bad girls. We're talking home security. How do you protect your family? How do you protect your stuff? How do you protect your home? Let's talk about home security considerations when you're building a home. All right, when we're talking home security, we're talking security cameras, we're talking burglar alarms, we're talking locks, we're talking lighting. We're going to kind of have lighting as a separate topic because not only is it security related, but also very functional as well. But we're going to start with cameras. Most nearest and dearest to my heart. I find it to be the best way to secure your home. Go back and watch some of my videos on why I think that. But anyway, we're talking about security cameras and the considerations when building your home. Okay, so in the world of security cameras, you've got wired or you've got wireless. And we just did a recent video on this. I'm not going to cover that too much detail, but go back and watch that video. The wired is a NVR or DVR system where you've got a wire going from your camera back to a DVR or NVR somewhere in your house. Why is that important when you're building a home? Because if you are going to go with that option, you want to find the best way to aesthetically run those wires so you don't have cables all over the outside of your house like the cable company would do. So that's very important because you want to get in there before your drywall is up to run these wires. So somewhere in your house, you're going to have a DVR or an NVR, maybe in a server closet or wherever your TV is that you're going to watch these cameras, or if it's in the server closet, you just have it hooked up to the internet, that's fine. But you've got to get wires from that camera back to this DVR, NVR, and it's very important to do that before your walls are up. Because you don't want them, on the outside of the wall, or you don't want some poor installer like myself. You have to worry about fishing, and that can be complicated once the house is built, especially when you're talking about exterior walls. Exterior walls are very hard to fish down. So to make it aesthetically pleasing and to have a nice, clean, professional look, you want to work with your builder to get that done before the drywall's up. Speaking of builders, make sure you find a builder that's cooperative and that they're not just trying to shove their stuff down your throat. Make sure you find a builder that if you've researched and you found the best item for you, they're going to work with you and let you do that. Because a lot of builders will make you go with the contractors they're used to dealing with. And that's fine in a lot of cases because they do tend to pick the better ones out there, but sometimes they don't. And sometimes you just want to do your own thing, and that's great. So find a builder that's going to work with you so you're not stuck with whatever they're trying to feed you. So anyway, on the wired side, very important to figure out how to run those cables and do it before the drywall's up. On the other side of that, on the camera side, you've got wireless cameras, and those are Wi-Fi cameras. Now, a lot of people are confused because people call them wireless, but when they're talking wireless, they're talking Wi-Fi. Sometimes they are completely wireless, and they're battery operated, and in that case, it doesn't matter when you put the things up, but just keep in mind with battery cameras, you do have to charge batteries. So with a lot of wireless cameras, meaning Wi-Fi cameras, you can actually power them. So the Nest cameras, for example, go back and watch our videos on the new Nest cameras. They come with a weatherproof cord where you can take a cable from the camera to a power outlet, a regular electrical power outlet, and plug it in. so you're not charging batteries all the time. So even though that camera is working off of Wi-Fi, it's permanently powered, and that makes it a little more reliable. Well, we come in all the time with these Nest cameras, and we got to figure out a way to plug in that camera. Well, when you're building, you've got the advantage of, let's say, putting an outlet in your attic. So work with your electrician and your builder to put outlets in your attic, because then you can run those up in your attic and you don't see those cables. Because otherwise you've got to find a way to get a cable from the camera to a power outlet. So let's say you have a power outlet on your deck. Well, that can not look the greatest because you've got a wire on the outside going from your camera to that outlet. But if you've got outlets strategically located where you can power those things and not see that wire, then that's great, because then it's going to look nice and professional. It's going to look, just flawless and aesthetically pleasing. So maybe work with your builder to get outlets in your attic for those Wi-Fi cameras. And there's a ton of different options out there. Nest just happens to be our favorite. But, kind of keep that in mind, because before those walls go up, before the outlets are, your electrician's done, work with them to make sure you got outlets where you need them for your cameras, in addition to everything else you use power outlets for. All right, so then moving on to burglar alarms. Now, there's a lot of old school burglar alarms. And burglar alarms, I'm talking about the perimeter alarms where the alarm goes off when somebody breaks in. Now, if you've watched my past videos, a little controversial, I'm not a big fan. But anyway, it can be a key way to secure your home, and they work great in conjunction with all these other things we're talking about. I'm never saying don't layer your security, because the more layers of your security, the better. So a burglar alarm, a lot of them are wireless nowadays, so you don't actually have to worry about this. But in the old days, you wanted to consider how you're wiring that alarm panel. And you still want to consider that, because even if the burglar alarm's wireless, your panel might need power. But if you're looking at a burglar alarm, see what the power requirements are. What components of that burglar alarm needs to be plugged into an outlet, what components need to be ran through a wall. So consider that as another security option. So in addition to your cameras, figure out which burglar alarm you're going with. In addition to that, you've got locks. Now, doors and locks are very important. Obviously, it's the main way in your house. I find that a lot of thieves, I've been catching crooks for 25 years. That's why this part is the first part of our video, because I think it's the most important. Protecting your home, your family, your stuff. But doors are the key to your home, the entryway to your home. A lot of thieves don't use windows nowadays. So you want to make sure your doors are secure. And a great way to do that is with smart locks. Smart locks, you can see on your phone when the door is locked. Did you forget to lock it? A lot of them will lock automatically. Like we have the August smart lock here, which you can see that we're showing you. I can control that remotely on my phone. I can make sure it's locked. I can give people temporary codes, temporary access. So if you just have a relative in town, you want to give them access, but you want to revoke it when they leave, or you want to let your UPS person really well, your FedEx person, you've got cameras, you can see your packages coming in your home, but you want to just be able to let them in. Smart locks are a great way to do that. But a consideration when you're building is a lot of smart locks need a deadbolt. And so a lot of times when we're installing them, we have to actually go create deadbolts, especially on older homes. But a lot of new modern houses are doing a lot of glass, and sometimes the doors are glass. Well, you want to take that in consideration on what kind of lock are you going to put on your doors. Because if you do all glass, sometimes you can't put the best lock on those doors. So consider, are you doing deadbolts? How are those doors going to lock? And then moving from your regular doors, and that's your entry doors, to your front door, your back door, your interior garage door. All those are very important to have locks on. Quick note on the interior garage door, number one door that people don't lock, and the one way people, like home invaders, get in your house. So consider locking that interior garage door. But moving on to the garage door, there are smart locks there too, or smart openers, I should say. So you can control your garage remotely. You get notifications on your phone when your door opens or closes. It's great if you forgot to close the garage door. Again, going back to home invasions, number one way they get in is your garage door. Sometimes they've got sophisticated devices that'll open your garage door. Sometimes people are just not changing the default code on their openers, which is an important consideration, because sometimes with certain brands, these thieves will know those default codes and they'll just be able to open your door with an opener. But if you get a smart opener, you can see that it was open, and you're going to get an alert, and you're going to be able to make sure from wherever you're at, you can be anywhere in the world, to make sure your door is closed. So front door, back door, interior garage door, get smart locks. Garage door opener, get a smart opener. Have full knowledge of whether or not your garage door is open or closed. So that's kind of the keys to home security. Cameras, burglar alarms, locks, and then your garage door. How are you going to secure all those things? Those are the key ways into your house. Those are the number one things to think about. Cameras are very proactive because you're catching people before they get to your house. So I'm not such a big fan of burglar alarms. They're very reactive. A person's already in your house. I'd rather catch them before, so consider cameras with facial recognition, whether it's wired or wireless. That's one of the things you want. You want to be alerted when people are in your yard. So consider all that, but as far as building a home goes, it's really about the wiring. How are you going to hide that wiring and make it look aesthetically pleasing?
So George, it sounded like having a flexible builder was important, but the electrician step is really the time, and having a good electrician that has options available to you is a pivotal time in your house build.
Yeah, the electrician is a key factor in all of this because a lot of times you might be in an area where you don't have somebody like SilverHammer Surveillance to install this for you. So a lot of times an electrician can do a lot of this for you. So whatever electrician the builder is using, are they going to be able to do this for you? So, for example, a lot of electricians will run the Cat5 cabling for all sorts of different devices in your house. And we're going to talk about some of these other devices here in a minute. But they can run Cat5 cable for your cameras while they're at it. So yes, the electrician is a very pivotal part of this whole process. And especially if you don't have a security company that can help you. But go ahead and research in your area if you do, because obviously we're a little more specialized. But electricians oftentimes are very familiar with that and can be a huge help. So yeah, very good point. All right, so that kind of covers home security, but just kind of think in your head which way you're going to go. Think about that wiring. Think about how you can hide it. Do you need to do it before the hand? Just before the drywall goes up, I'm telling you. All right, moving on. Okay, so speaking of electricians, let's move on to lighting. Again, lighting is very important for the aesthetics. I mean, you can have cool lighting outside your home, landscape lighting, and then lighting inside. Lighting inside and outside, all very important for security in addition to the aesthetics. So here we've got some fun lighting. You can think about something like that. We actually use this as art. Go back and look at our videos on Nanoleaf. This is a Nanoleaf wall panel. All the paintings in here is original art. I've said this before in other videos. So the wife paints, the daughter is very artistic. I was the only one left out, even though my dad had an art gallery in New York for years. But anyway, I didn't have that talent, so this is my art. So anyway, not only is it cool and fun, but it can be art. But outside your home, landscape lighting, all of that. Now there is smart lighting for even outside your house. And we're going to talk about internet in a section, but let's just backtrack for a second with security and everything else that we're talking about. Internet is very important, and we're going to cover that, but keep that in mind. We're going to come back to it. But outside your house, you can do smart lighting. You can control it with your phone. You can do different colors, whether it's path lighting or various accents and floodlights on your house, all of that. But inside, very important because you can control that lighting from your phone. You can put it on timers. You can do automations with your smart home devices. But you can make people think you're home when you're not. And that's very important. So you can be on the beach in the Bahamas, and with lighting, you can make people think you're right inside. And I'm telling you, thieves consider all of this. They will scope you out, and they will find out your patterns, and they will know who's home and who's not, but sometimes lighting can trick them. And it can be very important in the security realm in addition to aesthetics. But lighting, so work with your electrician, work with your builder. What type of lighting are they going to do? And then what's most important as far as the build goes, let's say you want smart switches, which we're kind of showing here in more detail. And we've got videos on this. Check out the links in the description. I'm brilliant. There are several different smart switches out there. This is my favorite. It's got the most smart home integration. It's got this cool screen. It works great with Sonos and all sorts of different brands. You can see Nest cameras on this thing. Your Nest Doorbell will pop up. But it's just a straight up light switch. But this does actually replace, like if you're had an existing home, this replaces your light switch. So work with your builder and see if you can do something cool like that. There's some of these made by GE, Lutron, Honeywell, several different ones out there. Again, this just happens to be my favorite because of all the cool things it does. Plus, it comes in different colors and it's very aesthetically pleasing. but it's just a cool smart home device and works with so many other compatible devices. So lighting in general, keep that in mind. Smart switches, smart bulbs, whatever it may be, your outside landscape lighting, keep lighting in mind when you're planning out that new build. Okay, now we're moving on to one of the most important things to make your decision on a new build. It's your internet. You know, you're going to have your internet provider in your town, whatever it is. You're going to want to actually, pick the best speed for, what type of person you are. Are you a smart home person? Do you just stream? Do you not just use your PC or Mac? You got to take into consideration what you use your internet for. But in the smart home world and the smart home future, internet is very important and you want to plan for the future. So work with your builder and see if they actually do something already. But if you can pick your own device, that's what I recommend. So the key, where everything's kind of going now is what's called a mesh network. So basically you've got your modem and then you've got your router. Your modem is what gives you internet from your internet provider, and sometimes they'll provide that modem for you, or you can rent one or you can buy one on your own. Most of the time you're renting a modem from your internet provider. All right, so that's just providing your home internet. It's a little device that hooks up to the jack, and that's what that is. Then you've got your router, and this is the most important thing in this whole operation, because whether you're talking Wi-Fi cameras or lighting or all of the other things we're going to talk about, you have to have the internet to support it. And so mesh networks, getting back to that, this is a mesh router, this is the Orbi, this is the top of the line Orbi, and in the world of mesh networks, I've got two favorites. This is my favorite. If you've got it, people don't realize if you can have all the speed you want from your internet provider, but if you don't have the router to support it, it's not going to work. So let's say you have gigabit internet. You're paying for the highest speeds your internet provider will give you. If you don't have the router that's going to let you do gigabit speeds, then what's the point of wasting your money on that internet speed? This little guy here, now there's several levels of Orbi, and this is very important. Netgear makes Orbi, and they've got several different models. We'll put the link in the description of this specific model, but it's the best one out there. I've tried them all, but it'll actually give you that gigabit speed. So what is a mesh network? So basically, in this case, this comes with this main router, and this hooks up to your modem. My modem's on the other side of this wall. And this is your router, and then it comes with a satellite. And in the Orbi case, each one is a full-blown router. And so people will buy Wi-Fi boosters, but they don't realize boosters will boost your internet, but they often narrow your network, so your expansiveness, it narrows it down. So it'll boost it in certain spots, but if it's not expansive for your smart lighting outside or your cameras outside, then what's the point? And then people will buy Wi-Fi extenders. Wi-Fi extenders will extend your network, but they actually weaken it in most cases. A mesh router does both. It extends and boosts because you're putting them at different, so let's say you've got a several thousand square foot house. You can put one of these on each floor, and each one is a full-blown router. One of them hooks up to your modem, and then the other usually hook up wirelessly. Now, in the case of a new build, you can actually hardwire all of these if you really wanted to run those wires from one to the other. But they're kind of the most handy because these satellites can be wireless. But man, with a new build, there's your opportunity to just hardwire everything, make sure these have the best connection possible. But you put one of these on each floor and you're set. Because people don't realize when you're putting devices outside, like cameras, Wi-Fi is meant to be inside. And you need Wi-Fi outside for these cool smart lights you have out there, or whatever it might be. If you've got these strategically placed in your home, they're really going to give you the coverage you want. And another great one, for a little less, these can be up to $1,000, so they're not cheap. So for the more budget-friendly option, I like the Nest Wi-Fi. They're $169 each for their router, and then you can get little Wi-Fi points. I prefer to get their routers. You can have up to 6 of them. So depending on the size of your house, you can put these all over the place and really just form a huge, it's called a mesh network because it's a huge mesh wall of Wi-Fi. And it's very important because not only do you want to worry about what speeds you're paying for, but you want the router to support it. And in today's, I think we have 102 smart devices in here. I wouldn't be able to run any of them if I didn't have the router to support it. So big consideration, work with your builder, see what they had in mind, but try to buy your own. And I'm telling you, for $1,000 in the grand scheme of the expense of your house, that's probably not a very big deal. Get what's going to work. Okay, so as we move around our smart apartment here, again, consider this, it's an apartment, but consider these for your home. We're moving on to sound and TVs and theaters and things like that. So sound can be very important. You know, for me, I'm a huge music guy. I love music. I'm obsessed with music. I want it to sound good. So sound is a big consideration on a new build. Are you going to do something wired? Are you going to have wired speakers in the ceiling of every room? If so, that needs to be ran before your drywall's up. Again, that's probably around the same time that the electrician is done, maybe the same time you're doing your cameras. But do you want that wired? Now, so there's tons, you can get your components. Maybe you have a component room like I was talking about with the DVR and NVR. You got a room with all your components, or maybe you got a cool shelf by your TV or whatever it is. You can wire it, but nowadays there's so many cool wireless options that maybe your builder will ask you about this. Like Sonos. Sonos is a great wireless option. You can kind of do before or after, but Sonos actually has products that can be wired in. But Sonos does rely on Wi-Fi, so a lot of these Sonos speakers have actual internet jacks, so you can actually wire them with Ethernet and the cords, and then that's a consideration you want to do in a new build, and again, you want to do that before the walls go up. But you can also just do wireless. So I've got a Sonos Arc soundbar here. I've got this subwoofer over here, all wireless. They just need power, and then we've got our surrounds there, and then I've got Sonos speakers in every room. And right now I just have them plugged into power. And so they're easy to add after the fact, but you can hardwire these. But a lot of people have, will say that they want a more sophisticated system that needs to be wired. Keep that in mind. You want to have that wired before the drywall goes up. Again, my favorite in general audio is Sonos. I think, it definitely handles this room very well and all our other rooms. You can also do smart home speakers like our little HomePod Mini here. You can do that with Google, Amazon, Alexa, whatever it might be. Also easy add-ons after the fact because these just plug into power outlets. They're also a great way to control your smart home, which we're going to talk about in a second. But what do you want to do for sound? Do you want to do something hardwired? Do you want to do something cool like Sonos? Do you want to do your smart assistant speakers? But keep that in mind. So, and then to go along with that, if you've got a home theater, what are you going to do with your TV? Are you going to mount it on the wall? Are you going to have it on a piece of furniture? If you're going to mount it on a wall, do you want HDMI cords going from your components down below up to the TV on the wall? Do you want power behind your TV? Also things to consider because of, again, one of the hugest things like the intro is do it when you're in the framing stage, before the drywall is up. Put an HDMI cord wherever you think you want a TV mounted. Put a power outlet wherever you think you want a TV mounted. Maybe the builder will put the mount up there for you. Just kind of consider what you want to do. And then to go along with that, and to kind of go along with the internet part of it, are you going to be streamers? Are you going to be cord cutters? I just think cable eventually is going to go away and we're all going to be cord cutters and do things like YouTube TV or kind of services like that with your, here we've got an Apple TV and that's how we watch everything. We are YouTube TV people. So we've got our Apple TV hooked up to this, and that's how we watch TV. But consider all of that because if you've got a cable box and you got your TV up in the wall, you got to figure out how to get a wire from that cable box to your TV. But kind of keep all that in mind. Again, it's all about the wiring in that case. So whether it's audio or TV, but just your home theater in general or whole home audio, a lot of people want to have speakers in every room. You can do that with Sonos. You can do that with your smart assistant speakers. Great way to do that. But otherwise, you want to have the wiring ready to go to set that up. All right, so let's move on to climate control. We got our Ecobee smart thermostat here. Smart thermostats are huge nowadays. A great way to pay, they basically pay for themselves over time because they learn your behaviors. You really don't even have to lift a finger and they can learn your behaviors and set a certain temperature when you're gone, a certain temperature when you're home. Go back and we just did a video on the Ecobee smart thermostat and working with Siri. But anyway, there's several of them out there. The Nest thermostat's probably the most famous. It kind of started the whole smart home thing, really. There's models made by Honeywell. This one is my favorite. It works with all the smart home platforms. They make smart sensors where you can put them in different rooms. It takes an average of your whole house. That way you're not just basing your thermostat temperature where it's sitting. and that can really save you money. Your utility company, a lot of times will give you discounts for this. Here in Omaha, it basically almost pays for itself with one credit from your utility company. So smart thermostat. So why this is a consideration when you're building is talk to your builder. Do they have a brand that they use? If they do, find out what it is, because sometimes there's better ones out there. Now, I will tell you there are certain systems that don't always work with everything. So that's, again, why you want to work with your builder and see if the smart thermostat that you choose is going to work with your system. But most of the time, this one in particular will work with pretty much everything. But paying for itself, I mean, it's a no-brainer. Get yourself a smart thermostat. All right, now let's talk about appliances. Smart appliances are huge right now. They can, this is the lamest part of our video because huge shout out to our management company, New Style Development. We've lived in several other properties, but unfortunately we do rent from them. So it pains me, but I can't switch out our appliances. So that's why I say it's the lamest part of the video, because I can't show you a smart appliance. But anyway, smart appliances like the fridge made by Samsung, that's a very famous fridge. LG, also known for their smart fridges. They can tell you when things are low inside. They can keep an inventory. They can do all sorts of things. Appliances in general. Efficiency, the smart efficiency, the smart part of them can make you more efficient as far as saving energy and saving the earth. But, your builders might want to give you certain appliances. That's just kind of their thing. They're used to giving you those appliances. But maybe consider smart appliances and work with the builder to see what you can do, because the smart features, you can basically have a tablet on your fridge. And again, it's saving you money, also a big consideration. But work with your builder and see what kind of smart appliances you can do. You can whether come in after the fact and you can control them with smart plugs. There's all sorts of different options there. But as far as actually before the building process, find out what kind of appliances you're going to get and if you have options out there. Okay, moving on to windows. Number one, pick with your builder efficient windows. That'll save you money. But as far as our gig, which is smart home, smart blinds, smart window coverings. We've got this beautiful view behind me, and we don't want to look at it all day, but unfortunately, again, we're renting. I can't put smart blinds in here, especially at the size of these windows. But I would love to, because every day we open these blinds to see this beautiful view. But certain times of day, it just gets too hot or too cold in here, depending on if it's summer or winter. We have to close them. Otherwise, our utility bill would be through the roof. So smart blinds. It's good for security because you can shut the blinds whenever you want, make people think you're home when you're not by opening the blinds, whatever you want to do, but also for efficiency and for saving money on that utility bill. I would just love to be able to press a button and shut these every day, because we got to go around this whole place and shut these things. So again, a lame way to have to show this to you, but it's almost what not to do. Don't do this, because get yourself smart blinds and save that hassle. Because like I said, cool gadget, but also can save you money. Okay, so let's just kind of bring this all home with, another one of the most important things to us is the smart home. How do you make your home more efficient? How do you make your life easier? You can have your tablet, everything on your tablet, and control it. How do you do that? And what do you consider when you're building a new home? Well, when it comes to the smart home, there's a couple different ways to go. You can get, like a full-blown smart home integration by companies like Creston or Control4. And if you want to research those are kind of more for higher-end houses. It's actually kind of wired in, usually professional install. That's where it's very important to consider that. Kind of research. My two favorites are Creston or Control4. But you kind of get their version of a tablet on the wall. You can control everything from there. You also usually have an app that you can use from your phone, but they're usually expensive. And like I said, more for the kind of higher end homes. Doesn't mean that you can't do it for any budget, but I'm telling you, it's a little expensive. But kind of check out those two companies. Ties everything together, from your blinds to your lighting to your security cameras, all of that. So what we're talking about now is how you tie all that together and make it convenient and efficient, and control it from your phone or a tablet. So you got full-blown installs like that, and that's where it's most important to do that before you build, again, in the framing process, maybe after the electrician or in conjunction with the electrician. Run those wires to control everything that you need to control. So research those and kind of find out if that's something that you might be interested in. Otherwise, You can kind of do, straight up more normal way of doing things now is with the smart assistants, Google, Apple, good old Siri, or Amazon Alexa. And you can just kind of pick a plethora of devices that work with those platforms. You don't need it actually wired into your home. You can control it with the HomePod like we showed you earlier. You can control it with your iPad, or I can control it with the Apple TV behind me if I went with Apple HomeKit. Apple HomeKit is Apple's version. Google Home is Google's version. And then Alexa is Amazon's version. But there's a plethora of products that are compatible with all of them, whether it's cameras or lighting or smart plugs or just a countless Philips Hue light bulbs, Nanoleaf. All those things can be controlled with those smart assistants. But kind of think in your head, do you want to go with the higher end wired version where you have a more specific way of doing things? Or do you want to have, it's just kind of the way of the future. These smart assistants are taking over. And so in that case, it's not as important to do it before the framing is done, but you can kind of do it at any time. But kind of keep that in your mind, because you want a way, if you're doing a smart home, to kind of pull it all together. And so consider it if you go wired or these wireless voice assistants. But keep that in mind. Okay, so those are kind of some of the things to consider when building a home. For security, the smart home, internet, what do you think? Tell me in the comments. If you built a house, what products did you have success with? What products did you not have success with? How was your builder to work with? Let me know. But if you have any questions, shoot us a message in the comments. Thanks again to Elizabeth for the suggestion. I appreciate it. Again, if you have any suggestions, let us know. But hopefully you liked this video. Smash the like button if you did. Hopefully you subscribe to the channel. We would very much appreciate having you here. Happy holidays. You can see here at SilverHammer, we're minimalist. You don't see a lot of tchotchkes or pictures in our apartment. You can see we either go with a very smart, minimalist Christmas tree, but happy holidays from us to you. And till the next one, peace and love.